Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
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 Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari.
Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana.
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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parirajikacharya Shatara Shata Śrīmad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parirajikacharya Ashatara Shata Śrīmad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakari Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopanatha Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Munamai Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Karantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Ukoi Sri Assembled Devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Shrinyavani Paschatari Chattarane. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Expand the Bliss London morning live stream. Thank you so much all for coming. So encouraging to see all you souls coming every single morning. Most of you not even missing a beat. And also to see it expanding, so that's very nice. We're going to be jumping into a study with His Grace Purujit Prabhu of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 1st canto, 8th chapter and 24th verse, if I'm not mistaken, which I might be mistaken, am I? Someone help me please. We're going to be discussing devotees are always persecuted. So, just before we get into announcements and the class, I'm just going to welcome all the nice souls who've come on this Saturday morning, or sometimes in the evening also, depending on where they are. Like Krishna Mataji, who was first this morning. Hare Krishna, I think one of our best artists of it on the whole Bliss family. Amazing stuff. I saw your rendering of Srila Prabhupada yesterday. Mataji, that was amazing. Very good likeness to Srila Prabhupada's features. Lovely. Bhakti Neil Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Welcome, Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming. Ellen Rahasya, Dandavat Mataji. Please accept mine. Azu Agarwal, Hare Krishna Mataji. James Prabhu, all the way from Scotland. Hare Krishna. Aradhana, Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you for coming and dropping an interesting icon. Is that a pair of dice? There's no gambling allowed in Bliss. What is this? Am I mistaken? Maybe it's a butterfly also. I can't see. Anyway, I hope it's not dice. Hare Krishna Nace Prabhu and Hare Krishna Yadav, who's bringing the nice diacritics. Hare Krishna. Pravin Bhai Faldu. Hare Krishna Pravin Bhai. Victoria Mataji, of course. Hare Krishna. Ekanata Mataji from Holland. Hare Bol. And Yadav is nicely linked to the shloka, who beat... There's a transcendental competition now. He beat Davo Prabhu in getting the shloka in the chat. Okay, Radhe Sham. Please, Radhe Sham, we don't want your astrology services. Srila Prabhupada says astrology is bogus. So thank you. Please, you can take your spam somewhere else where people will maybe be interested. But we here are not interested. Thank you. You can come and hear the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Pooja, Hare Krishna Pooja Mataji. Thank you for coming from Bangladesh, right? Also from Bangladesh, if I'm not mistaken. Hare Krishna. Anjali, Hare Bol Prabhu. Anjali Prabhu, I need a possible favor from you. I will ask on the live stream that I'm on book distribution. There's a very nice Bengali gentleman. His name is Philip, and his mother is on her deathbed, and she wants to read Śrīmad-Bhagavad but she can only speak Bengali. So she needs a Bengali edition of Bhagavad Gita, which is very expensive in the UK. It's very cheap if you buy it from an India mart, but they don't ship to UK. So I'm wondering if it's possible, maybe someone who's in India, I'm specifically addressing Anjali, but this is open for anyone who's in India. Perhaps you can help me get a Bengali Bhagavad Gita as it is. Doesn't matter which era. And please kindly ship it to me. And I will obviously compensate you. That will be very helpful for our book distribution saver. Okay, Anjali says, yeah, sure, amazing, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I know that they're very cheap in the India marts. They're only like 170 rupees or so. So here in the UK, it's like £40. So I would be more than willing. In fact, I might even do like a bulk order because there are many Bangladeshis here. So I'll let you know the details after the class if it's okay, Prabhu. I've got to do some things, preparations for the rest of the day. But after the class, I will send you everything. Thank you so much for your cooperation, Prabhu. It's very much appreciated. Maybe Davil, Prabhu, you can remove Radhe Sham from the stream. Thank you. Okay, so if you haven't seen the podcast yet, please kindly get on the... okay, I'll WhatsApp you, Angela, yes. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So, if you haven't seen the podcast yet, please kindly go check out the podcast. We're gonna... we are releasing one every single Monday. It has not stopped for the past year and a half. If you hadn't seen it, it's revolutionary. Video now is available, so you can actually see us do the podcast. I don't know if that's something that you wanted, but some people suggested that previously, so we finally have the technology and the means to do that, although it's a little laggy. Anyway, I think that some people appreciated it, so please join the discussion there on the YouTube comment section. And please kindly also come to the event tomorrow. There'll be an event as per usual, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam study in the evening. So feel free to join us for that. There'll be the event made soon, so you can press going. Also, please kindly share the live stream. I can check the shares now to see how we're doing. Oh wow, we have a new graphic on Expanded Bliss London. That's nice. Mm-hmm. Okay, less shares this morning, Prabhus. What's happening? Did someone get banned? Sometimes it happens like that. Someone gets banned. The views are going down, Prabhus. This is very disappointing. We're getting less than 1,000 views now per video. Let us return. Let us bring about the golden age of Kali and get to at least 5,000, 6,000 views. It's possible. Just have faith and share fanatically. I can see the top sharer. Oh, Victoria Corona Mataji is top sharer for today. Very nicely. And she's, I think, okay, very nice. Also, Victoria Corona Mataji, thank you very much for that recipe. The tea that you gave me, that was very nice for helping my little sickness I have here. Very nice. If you'd like to know, the clove, what was that? Clove, cardamom, turmeric, ginger. Excellent. Thank you, Mataji. Yadav Prabhu is also there, Aradhana and Nace. So that's our top sharers. Oh, okay, also Pitikeshna Prabhu. Last but not least at all, I don't think actually it's rated in terms of how much you're sharing, but I can see that definitely Nace and Victoria are sharing the most. So thank you, Prabhus, for helping us. And Hare Krishna to Sabina Mataji, thank you for coming. Alright, Prabhus, please put a like on the live stream. And we're going to get into a study, chant some shlokas with His Grace. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So
reading from the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 8th chapter, text number 24. Yes?
Huh?
24, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Visat Mahagne Purushada Darshanat.
Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat.
Asat Sabhabhya Vanvasa Kirchatam.
Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichtartaha.
Mride Mride Anika Maharata Astrato.
Mridhe Mridhinaka Maharatha Ashtrato.
Dronastratascha Hare Abhirakshita.
Raunyastrascha Hare Bhikshaksita. Vishan Mahagnehe Purushara Darshanat
Vishad Mahagne Purusada Darshanat
Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichitrahata
Asat Sababhya Vanvasakrichatam
Mridhenika Maharatha Shtato
Mridhe Aneka Maharata Strato
Draunyashtratastasma Hare Bhikshakrashita
Dronastratascha Sma Hare Abhirakshitaham Vishad
Vishat
from poison,
from poison
Mahagne
Maha
from the great fire,
from the great fire
Purusada
Purusha Ada
the eaters of man,
man-eaters
Darshanat
Darshanat
by combating,
by combating
Asat
Asat
vicious,
vicious
Sabaya
Sabhaya
assembly,
assembly
Vanavasa
Vanavasa
exiled in the forest,
exiled to the forest
Krichato
Krichrata
sufferings,
sufferings
Mride
Mrithe
in a
Mrithe
in a battle,
again and again in a battle
Aneka
Aneka
many,
many
Maharata
Maharata
great general,
great generals
Astro
Astaraha
weapons,
weapons
Drona
Droni
the son of Dronacharya,
son of Dronacharya
Astrato
Astarataha
from the weapons of
from the weapon of
Cha
Cha
and
and
Sma
Asma
indicating past tense,
indicating past tense
Hare
Hare
by the personality of Godhead,
O my Lord
Abhirakshita
Abhirakshitaha
protected completely.
protected completely
Translation. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from the poison cake, from the great fire, from the combating with the man-eaters, from the vicious assembly, from the sufferings during the exile period in a forest, in a battlefield where great generals fought and lately saved from the weapons of Ashwatthama. Purported by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The list of dangerous encounters is submitted herein. Devaki was once put into difficulty by her envious brother, otherwise she was well at all time. But Kunti Devi was put into difficulty one after another for years and years together. They were put into trouble by Duryodhana and party on the case of the kingdom. And in each and every time, the sons of Kunti were saved by the Lord. Sometimes Bhima was administered poison in a cake form. Sometimes they were put into the house made of shellac and set in fire. Sometimes Draupadi was baited out, and an attempt was made to insult her by seeing her naked in the vicious assembly of the Kurus. The Lord saved Draupadi by supplying immeasurable length of cloth, and Duryodhana's party failed to see her naked. Similarly, when they were exiled in the forest, Bhima had to fight with some man-eater demon like Hirambarakshashas, but the Lord saved him. So it was not finished there. After all these tribulations, there was the great battle of Kurukshetra, and Arjuna had to meet such great generals like Drona, Bhishma, Karna, etc., all powerful fighters. And at last, even when everything was done away, there was the Brahmastra released by the son of Dronacharya, even within the womb of Uttara. And the Lord saved the only surviving descendant of the Kurus, Maharaj Parikshit. Om Agyan Tirinandasya Gyanajanashalakayam Chakshunan Meridam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master's divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has opened my darkened eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto His lotus feet. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai.
So, usually people, they approach God with some ulterior purpose. And this is known as religion. People think religion is some sectarian group fighting with the other sectarian groups. In the third canto, Lord Kapila, he explains the varieties of devotional service. Everything is ultimately devotional service. We're serving. This is our nature as jivas, as the spirit souls. Even if someone says, I don't serve anyone, at least he has to serve his belly, his eyes, his tongue. So we're eternally servants. This is our constitutional position. Not just souls, but we are the servants. We are the servant souls. Krishna is the master soul. We call the Supreme Godhead. And just like Krishna is eternally the master, we're eternally servants. So this is very important. Unless we understand this point, we cannot get out of this material existence. And we also cannot understand God, or to speak of engaging in His service. So this is the complete knowledge of God. I am eternally His servant. He is eternally my master. And pure devotional service, Shuddha Bhakti, pure service, is not tinged by any motivation. So, Lord Kapila is explaining to his mother Devahuti the various mixtures of devotional service. This is important so we can distinguish pure bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, from Mishra Bhakti, mixed bhakti, mixed devotional service. In order to make advancement, there's a mailman, Prabhu. We must understand what is what. We must have some discrimination, not like animals. Animals, they have no discrimination. They just go on and on and on. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Whoever gives food, oh, he's my master. I don't care. Unfortunately, people in today's world are taught to be like animals by the modern educational system. They're educated how to be very polished, first-class animals with nice, fashionable clothes, Versace and Gucci, right? Maitreya Prabhu, he was a fashion designer before he joined. He knows. So here is a nice shloka. Lord Kapila explains the devotional service in mode of ignorance. Abhisandhaya yohimsam damba matsaryam ivava sambrabhi binadagvavam mai karyat satamasaha. Devotional service executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent, and angry, and who is a separatist, is considered to be in a mode of darkness. Srila Prabhupada explains, it has already been stated in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, that the highest, most glorious religion is the attainment of causeless, unmotivated devotional service. In pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is not actually a motive. That is the pure condition of the living entity. In the conditioned stage, when one engages in devotional service, he should follow the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master in full surrender. The spiritual master is manifested representation of the Supreme Lord because he receives and presents the instructions of the Lord as they are by disciplic succession. It is described in Bhagavad Gita that the teachings therein should be received by disciplic succession. Otherwise, there is adulteration. You see, so if the knowledge is not received through a disciplic succession, through following a discipline as taught by the spiritual master, there will be adulteration. To act under the direction of bona fide spiritual master with a motive to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pure devotional service. Right? So this motive is good. But if one has a motive for personal sense gratification, his devotional service is manifested differently. Such a man may be violent. A devotee in a mode of ignorance can be violent, proud, envious, and angry, and his interests are separate from the Lord's. You see, so this word separate doesn't mean that he is alone necessarily. He might be alone, like Srila Prabhupada was alone before he started the mission. Nobody was helping him. But that is not necessarily a separatist. Separatist means that his interests are separate from the Lord's. So, you might be part of a big group, but if that group is serving purposes that are, or interests that are separate from the interest of the Lord, that whole group is separatist. Okay? What is the interest of the Lord in this world? So, His name, His fame, His philosophy, His teaching is propagated. This is the interest. So, if we try to fulfill this interest of the Lord by our life, by our money, by our minds, so many different ways, that is a good motive. That motive is not exactly a motive, but is the pure condition of the living entity. Prabhupada continues. One who approaches the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, but who is proud of his personality. Proud of his personality. Now, we're not speaking of his spiritual personality. We mean this designated personality, our designation, our upadi. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm this, I'm that. I'm a brahmachari, I'm a grihastha, I'm a sannyasi. I'm a guru, I'm a ruru. All these are false designations. So if we become proud of that designation, that is mode of ignorance. Devotional service is a mode of ignorance. Okay, so one who is proud of his personality, envious of others, and vengeful is in the mode of anger. A devotee is non-envious. Nirmatsaranam. This Srimad-Bhagavatam is meant for devotees who are non-envious. If we hold some envy, then this knowledge of Srimad-Bhagavatam will not be revealed to us. Don't waste your time. Also, the next step from envy becomes vengefulness. Revenge. We want to punish other devotees. Very horrible. Srila Prabhupada continues, he thinks that he is the best devotee. Although he might not say it by lips, he is thinking, I am the best devotee. No one is better than me. I am the best devotee. Devotional service executed in this way is not pure. It is mixed and is of the lowest grade tamasaha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur advises that a Vaishnava is not of good character, should be avoided. A Vaishnava is one who has taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life. But if one is not pure and still has motives, then he is not a Vaishnava of the first order or of good character. One may offer his respects to such a Vaishnava because he has accepted the Supreme Lord as the ultimate goal of life. But one should not keep company with a Vaishnava who is in the mode of ignorance. Now, Lord Kapila says, Vishayana visandaya yasya aishvaryameva va archadav archayed yomam pratak bhavaha sarajasaha. The worship of deities in a temple by a separatist with a motive for material enjoyment, fame and opulence is devotion in a mode of passion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word separatist must be understood carefully. The Sanskrit words in this connections are Bhinadrik and Pritak Bhavaha. A separatist is one who sees his interest as separate from that of the Supreme Lord. Mixed devotees, or devotees in the modes of passion and ignorance, think that the interest of the Supreme Lord is supplying the orders of the devotee. The interest of such devotees is to draw from the Lord as much as possible for their sense gratification. This is the separatist mentality. Actually, pure devotion, as explained in the previous chapter, the mind of the Supreme Lord and the mind of the devotee should be dovetailed. See, perfect meditation. A devotee should not wish anything but to execute the desire of the Supreme, that is oneness. When the devotee has an interest or will different from the interest of the Supreme Lord, his mentality is that of a separatist. When the so-called devotee desires material enjoyment without reference to the interest of the Supreme Lord, or he wants to become famous or opulent by utilizing the mercy or the grace of the Supreme Lord, he is in a mode of passion. Mayavadis, however, interpret this word separatist in a different way. They say that while worshipping the Lord, one should think himself one with the Supreme Lord. This is another adulterated form of devotion within the modes of material nature. The conception that the living entity is one with the Supreme is in a mode of ignorance. Oneness is actually based on oneness of interest. A pure devotee has no interest but to act on behalf of the Supreme Lord. When one has even a tinge of personal interest, his devotion is mixed with the three modes of material nature. So, this is the devotional service in mode of passion. Ignorance and passion. These two qualities gradually subside by regularly hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam from a pure devotee, not independently, from a pure devotee. We must hear the Bhagavatam from a person Bhagavatam. Person Bhagavatam. Not separately. You cannot understand separately. You must follow the guidance of the person Bhagavatam. Then the knowledge is revealed to you. Very nicely. So, here in our shloka that we discussed today, Kunti Devi is remembering all the different atrocities, troubles created by Duryodhana and his associates to her and her sons, the Pandavas. There was so much trouble created. As I mentioned yesterday also, Devaki, the mother of Lord Krishna, of course, she experienced another traumatic experience. Her children were killed. But later on, she was left alone by Kamsa. But Queen Kunti was being constantly harassed by these rascals. So, Krishna was very merciful to Queen Kunti. He was very merciful. And he helped the Pandavas in so many different ways. Ultimately, Queen Kunti is praying that please let there be more calamities. Because now, when everything is all right, you, my Lord, you are leaving us. You're going away. See, the devotee doesn't want that. He wants to be with Krishna. But sometimes it happens like that. It was mentioned that one who wants to utilize the mercy of the Lord for his own sense gratification is a devotee in mode of passion, adulterated. Now we cannot have any passion or ignorance, even goodness. We must come to the highest position, Shuddha Sattva, purified goodness. So sometimes it happens like that we get mercy of the Lord. By the mercy of the Lord we get some opulence or some fame or like that. And then this very mercy becomes our obstacle because we want to exploit it. We have this natural propensity to exploit. That is why we hear. This is our disease mentality. We also always want to exploit. As I said before, constitutionally we're servants. Mama ivamshu jiva bhuta, jiva loki sanatana, manasastrani nindani, prakristani karshati. We're never the master. We're never the proprietor. But because of the illusion, we're trying to always become the master in any circumstance. This is our illusion. And based on this mentality of exploitation, we're trying to gratify the senses and we're committing so many sinful activities. So, this is a misunderstanding when people think that, oh, God consciousness or religion or religious practice is meant to acquire some material facility. Quite the opposite. The pure devotees, they're praying for misery. They're praying for misery. This is the unique feature of Krishna consciousness. All religions are aiming towards God. But Krishna consciousness is the highest process because we're trying to aim for God without any motive. Quite the opposite. Not just God, we're trying to acquire love of God also. Love of God. It's not that love of God is automatically there by default. No, we have love for food, for sex, for money, for this world. We have love for the fellow men. We have love for the animals. So much the love is being distributed. So you cannot say, oh, I love my family, so I love Krishna. That is Mayavad. Your family is not Krishna. Krishna expands himself by his energy true everywhere, and still he is not there. Krishna says this. I am everywhere, and yet I am not everywhere. Krishna is eternally situated in Goloka Vrindavan, where he enjoys his eternal transcendental pastimes with his associates. But at the same time, he pervades all the creation through his energy. Just like the sun is localized in one place in the universe. But at the same time, through sunshine, it is being spread all over the universe. So it is present, just like here right now. It is present here. But Krishna is not here. Krishna is not here. The sun planet is not here. Sunshine is here. Sun planet is not here. Similarly, everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna. There is no difference. True. But at the same time, they're not Krishna. So, any other diversion of our love is an adulteration of that pure love. We have that pure love for Krishna deep in our heart. It is there. But it is right now is being adulterated. So devotees are praying. That is why we say Hare. Hare is addressing Srimati Radharani. She is the personification of Prema Bhakti. Prema. Pure love of Godhead. So we first of all have to become engaged by Srimati Radharani before we can meet Krishna. And how do we become engaged by Srimati Radharani? We must approach the servants of Srimati Radharani. Just like it was mentioned before, through this parampara system, the system of disciplic succession. Like that. It is not a sentimentalism, this Krishna consciousness. Oh, I love my girlfriend, I love Krishna, I love this. It doesn't matter. Everything matters, every single little detail. It is an exact science, how precise it is. Just consider the surgery. If a doctor wants to do a surgery, how precisely he must cut the patient. How he must know everything, how the bloodstream works, how this works, how the intestines, how the organs are working. He must be very, very, sorry. He must be very, very careful. So that is concerning the body. This temporary body, which is nothing but stool, bones, blood, wrapped up in a nice package called skin. The Srimad-Bhagavatam says that one who thinks that he is this body is not better than an animal. But that body has been created by Krishna through his expert intelligence, how the organs are working so nicely. So if it is so difficult, the medical science still, they do not know how the brain works, how, so many things, they don't know. And you can see now, trying with the vaccines, they're not successful. Again, they're trying, again and again and again. They have no idea. They cannot conceive of how Krishna made this body. So it is so complicated, so complex, this material body. What to speak of? Spiritual life that deals with the spirit. And which is a way much more a subtle science. It is a science of consciousness. Just like all these different modes of nature. These are the different stages of consciousness. Different stages of consciousness. Different stages of purification. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. The mirror covered by dust. The embryo, and then there's the third one, the tiger, something with the tiger.
I thought it was the fire and the smoke in the wood, no?
That's another analogy, but in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains the different levels of lust.
The child in the womb, this dust
fire and the smoke, yes. Yeah. Tiger, I'm crazy. I'm saying tiger. So these represent the different modes of material nature. When one is enveloped by the mode of ignorance, his position is helpless. He has no independence. He is simply following the dictations of material nature and degrading. The nature of matter is that it degrades. When the spirit soul leaves the body degrades. Similarly, a person who is in mode of ignorance, he's fully on a material platform. And that is why the consciousness degrades. One who is mode of passion, he has some fire, there is some idea. But again, he's misguided. He's trying to be very active on the material plane, impermanent. In the beginning, it's very nice. At the end, it is full of suffering. Only person in mode of goodness, he can come out of this material entanglement by the modes of material nature. Why? Because his mind is still, his mind is peaceful. He can acquire knowledge. You see, that is why we're following all these regulative principles. It is not fanaticism or dogma. Rising early is not a dogma. It is essential for your consciousness to be peaceful so you can assimilate the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Chanting 16 rounds is not a fanaticism or dogma. It is scientific. Just like I said before, the surgeon, when he's doing the operation, he has to make sure that the blood is flowing nicely, that the patient is under anesthesia. So many factors are there. It's not simply he takes a knife, he starts cutting in a whimsical way. Right? So it is a science. If you follow the regulative principles, then it will assist your chanting. You become more and more elevated. And if you think, wow, let me take a shortcut. Let me accept some guru who is not emphasizing these rules and regulations. You'll be cheated. You will not be successful. You will think that, oh, I am performing devotional service. But sooner or later, you will again be forced to gratify your senses. You see, so we must understand, it is not dogma. We should not be agitated or angry at Srila Prabhupada at all. He is very cruel because he's checking my pleasures. No, these pleasures are nonsense. And if you want to please Krishna, if you want to taste real Krishna consciousness, it is a very subtle science. You must understand how it works together. So Queen Kunti is given this hint. Pray for miseries. Don't ask anything. This is the guidance we should have. And I said this before. If you want to experience challenges in your Krishna consciousness, then preach. Preach as much as possible. Preach Krishna consciousness. To whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. If you cannot say anything else, you simply ask, dear sir, dear madam, please chant this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you are Guru. You will see. Srila Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita, in one of the purports. Let me just find it very fast. This is from the 13th chapter, 8th verse. Krishna is naming different qualities that constitutes knowledge. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. So then Srila Prabhupada, he comments, non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body, but actually non-violence means not to put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance in the material concept of life, and they perpetually suffer material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. So if we don't have any desire to preach this Krishna consciousness, we're committing violence. So very strong words are used here by Srila Prabhupada. We're committing violence. We know how to get out of the material existence, but we do not share it with others. So we're killing them. We're killing the people. Everyone has a right to know about Krishna consciousness. They might like it, they might not like it. That is none of your business. Krishna says it, you try to execute. We should not be puffed up to think that, oh, I am a great preacher. By my words, people will become converted. And then I will manipulate them and control them. You must give up this mentality. The preaching that we do is for our benefit, for our purification. This should be the understanding. And if we like this, then yes, people will get the benefit. They will come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master and get initiated by him. Just like we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. That is going on. So then, you're not committing violence. If you're preaching Krishna consciousness, you're free. But if you do not, then you're committing violence. Prabhupada says one should try his best. Try his best. Do you try your best? Or are you doing it as a formality? Oh, let me do some little... I just share one time on Facebook. Oh, I did my duty. Okay, now can I enjoy it? That is not your best. Your best, you must constantly meditate how to preach Krishna consciousness, how to preach Krishna consciousness, how to preach, how to expand the mission. That is samadhi. This is how you come to pure devotional service. This is the hint. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge to the people so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. That is not violence. One item. Second item, tolerance. Tolerance means that one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. If one is engaged in the advancement of spiritual knowledge, there will be so many insults and much dishonor from others. You see, this is required. As long as we are hankering for honor, if we want to be honored, if we want to be worshipped, we cannot make any advancement in Krishna consciousness. This must be completely zero, this desire. So if we try to spread this knowledge, there will be many insults, there will be lots of dishonor from others. Yes, that is very good. That is normal. This is expected because material nature is so constituted. Prabhupada says, if you are not getting opposition, then you are a suspect. You're preaching Krishna consciousness and everyone is respecting you, clapping their hands. You're immediately suspect. You're bogus. Immediately you can consider yourself a bogus number one. If you're preaching Krishna consciousness, the real Krishna consciousness, there will be insults, there will be dishonor, there will be criticism, there will be envy, all these nice things. Sometimes a devotee gets killed. Because this is how the material world is constituted. It's full of demons. We ourselves are demons. We're all envious of Krishna. But we're taking the medicine to cure the disease. What is that medicine? Chant Hare Krishna. Teach others how to chant Hare Krishna. Even a boy like Prahlad, who only 5 years old, was engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, was endangered when his father became antagonistic to his devotion. The father tried to kill him in so many ways, but Prahlad tolerated him. So there may be many impediments to making advancement in spiritual knowledge, but we should be tolerant and continue our progress with determination. You see, so one must test how far he's advancing in Krishna consciousness according to these criteria. Are you more non-violent? Are you preaching more Krishna consciousness? Are you more tolerant? Or are you taking offense immediately when you are being insulted? You take great offense or you become agitated in the mind. This is how we judge Krishna consciousness. Not necessarily how many years you have been in the movement, whether you have first, second, third or 10th initiation, whether you have a danda or you are sumanda matayo, lazy. These are not the considerations. These, of course, are helpful, but these are not the major characteristics, minor characteristics, not very essential, not relevant. This is how we know. Are you more tolerant? Are you more non-violent? Are you preaching Krishna consciousness? Are you less lusty, less greedy, less angry, like that? So everyone can judge for himself. And we should challenge ourselves. We should preach Krishna consciousness. Also, there's another aspect here, another item. One should speak the truth without adulterating the message. Speak it as it is. Be truthful. People might not like it, but you must preach truthfully. That is also important. So this is a self-purificatory process. You don't need the spiritual master to pull your ear and slap you and this and that. Simply you engage in the order of the spiritual master. The process itself will purify you. The process itself will teach you how horrible this material world is. And so long we're not preaching, we're not getting it. We think that, oh, it's a wonderful place. I'm very happy here. And then we take another birth. Oh, you want to stay here? Okay. And we become entangled and degraded. You see, so this is why we emphasize the preaching so much. Not for some material purpose, for self-gratification or sense gratification, to become famous or to become a guru. This is not at all important. It is important so we fulfill the order of Krishna. We become one with his interest. That is real service. And by doing that, we become purified. Whether there's a big result or small result, it's irrelevant. Whether you have 1 million followers or 1 follower or 0 followers, even 0 follower, it doesn't matter. You have tried, you have done your seva. Krishna will appreciate that. And you will gain realizations. Krishna will become more and more revealed to you. This is the virtue of fulfilling the order of the spiritual master. Okay, so I'll stop here. Are there any questions? I already see some questions asked there. Actually, no questions. Okay, Prabhu, so I'm going to wait a little bit. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Peter Kirchner is asking, is there something wrong if we're not feeling pain from Krishna consciousness? I'm not sure if I understand. There is some struggle. There's definitely a struggle. So generally the pain is because we're attached to the material world, and as soon as we become a little bit more advanced in Krishna consciousness, these attachments are cut off from us. So that is sometimes very painful. For example, a sannyasi must give up his family attachment. He must leave his wife and children and practice renunciation. So that is quite painful. But for the sake of Krishna, one must do it. We must always ask ourselves, what is the priority in my life? What is the purpose of my life? These things we had many millions of lifetimes before. We had this. We had this eating, we had this sleeping, so many things. We had that. If we think that, oh, later I will do. We're doing this every lifetime. We say later, next life, I will do it next life. You know, constantly it is going on. This is called samsara. Samsara means how many times you say next time, I will do it. So you must go the other direction. No, let me try. Let me try my best. Even if you try your best, it is not guaranteed that you will get Krishna. So what to speak of if we're not interested, if we're going the other direction, if we think, well, I will do it later. Do it now, and at least you have a chance. You see? I don't know if it answers your question, Peter. You can maybe elaborate a little bit more. Yadav Prabhu says, how can one preach to others when one is not 100% free from sins or bad qualities? You can preach in so many different ways. You can give money. You might not be free from sinful activities, but everyone is engaged, everyone has some income. So you dedicate the income to the preachers. Every day we're asking, please give donation, like that. So better that you give donation than using the money to buy, sinful activities. That is the process. One might not be immediately ready to give up sinful activities, but if he dedicates the income, there'll be less money for sinful activities. This is why it is recommended. Give as much as possible to the devotees. And that is as good as preaching, because you are supporting by your energy, your work. That energy is used for preaching Krishna consciousness. Books are distributed, prasadam is distributed, people get to know about Krishna. So you're helping the preaching mission in that way. And if you associate with the devotees, that also you can advance. But if you cannot do anything, if you simply tell people chant Hare Krishna, then that is also preaching, as I said before. That is also preaching. Start like that. Start somewhere. Don't make a siddhanta that, oh, I will not preach. How can I not preach? Try to ask, how can I preach? Don't ask, how can I not preach? Oh, I cannot preach because, okay, I have some bad habits, so I cannot preach. You should ask the other way around. I have some sinful habits, but what can I do in my present condition? Like that. And then Krishna will give you intelligence. Yes, you can do this, you can do that, like that, like that. And by doing it, you become free from all sinful activities. But you must do it. Okay, PJ Prabhu, the biggest obstacle in preaching Krishna consciousness is the second. We mentioned God, bringing God into the conversation in a godless society. We are looked at like a fanatic, being irrational, etc. So are we still committing violence when we don't fully preach, when we know that the audience is completely unreceptive and in fact hostile, ugly in return? Okay, well, there are two factors here. We should not preach to the envious, people who are dull-headed and close-minded and they're inimical. Krishna is not asking us to go and agitate their minds. Quite the opposite. He says, don't agitate the minds, those who are addicted to fruitive results. So, in preaching, some discrimination is required. Right? You have to observe, the audience, to hear what they say. And then you give them preaching. A second point is, Prabhupada is giving this trick in one conversation. He's explaining his preaching tactics. You can hardly notice that. But when you study Prabhupada's preaching and his conversations and so on. Okay, that's another thing. Try to read Prabhupada's conversations. Read or hear. This is very important because Prabhupada is showing in his conversations how to preach in our daily exchanges. You have the books, that's fine, everyone should read the books. But if you read the conversations, you get an extra angle of vision, how a Mahabhagavat is applying the philosophy in real life. So Prabhupada, he says that sometimes the Guru, he doesn't answer a question. He turns it the other way around. He asks the disciple, what do you think? And when the disciple says something, and he says something bogus, then he catches him. And you can see this technique, Prabhupada uses it quite often. On many of these conversations, you see that Prabhupada starts the conversation not by saying, God, 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 you have to surrender to God, and if you don't surrender, then you are nonsense. And many times, Prabhupada begins the conversation by saying, what is your philosophy? Have you noticed this? Are you reading the conversation? Anyone, devotees who are watching? Of course, there's so many books to read and lectures and so, but me personally, I love the conversations. And many times, Prabhupada has some guest, and the first thing he asks him, Prabhupada asks him, yes, so, what is your philosophy? You see, and then the guest, then he speaks, oh, I think this, I think like da. And then Prabhupada catches one point. What do you mean by this? And the guest trying to explain, and then Prabhupada is crushing him. No, this doesn't make sense. And he insists on that point. He doesn't go anywhere. He says, no, this is bogus. You are not this body. And then he's quoting the Bhagavad Gita. And then he starts preaching like that. So you can try like that. PJ Prabhu. You follow? It's kind of like chess. In a chess game, usually the very intelligent player, he doesn't show all the tricks in the beginning. He let the other person attack. And then when he understands his tactics, then he can defeat him. So it requires some discrimination and also austerity of speech. We want to preach, we want to defeat. We have to control these and just hear very carefully what people say and answer according to their level of understanding. So it takes some time, but if you hear Srila Prabhupada, you see how he's doing it, and if you practice, you go on preaching, go on, don't give up. Yes, people think you're fanatic and this and that, but that's exactly what Prabhupada says. When one is engaged in preaching, he must bear insults. It's a necessary part of the process. You must be detached. When you're preaching, you must be detached. If you think that, oh, when I preach, they must clap my hands, then any nonsense who will simply praise you, then you will preach whatever he wants. This is how you become bogus. You become compromised. The people who praise you, then they will start dictate. Oh, you must preach me like this, like that. And you will follow them because you attach their clappings and not to give them the real, you're not attached to giving them the real knowledge. So there's a danger like that. You see? So practice, 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 and hearing, hearing, hearing. Nice Prabhu is asking, but if people are thinking Krishna consciousness is another means of getting material means, why are they still so reluctant to taking up the process? Yes, because nowadays you have, very advanced technology, you have economics, you have this and that. Life is quite comfortable, especially in the Western countries. So people are giving up churches, religion, God. Well, I don't need this. I have my food, my this, my that, everything I have. Why do I need God? So they don't care for these things. In order to get relief from the distress, you have these life coaches, right? Monkeys, monkey coaches, full of YouTube. You have life coaching. What is his name? This guy with that voice? Jeremy or some, I forgot. So people found replacement. But if things get heated up, if people have nothing to eat and so on, they will come back to God. See, but the point is, this is not the reason why we should take up our devotional service. We should serve Krishna because of understanding. Oh, He is the Lord. He is the source of my food and of my economics and of my technology. Because Krishna is giving intelligence to Bill Gates and Steve Jobs to construct these devices. So I should praise the original inventor, Krishna. Okay, there's some more questions. Peter is asking, how do you discriminate people on the street when meeting for the first time? Okay, there are various I think you have asked this question before also, many times you asked this question. Is it because maybe you aspire at one point to do book distribution? Because I don't think that you just go on the street and you talk to people, or is that so? So I'm going to answer from the book distribution point of view. Yesterday I was distributing, my chair was here. So I was alone. So I was thinking, there were crowds of people coming from subway. So instead of trying to jump and at everybody, I would just stand and I would just observe. And I would try to create an eye contact. Because you waste your energy so much. So those people who would look at me, I would say hello. And from the group of people who would look at me, maybe 50% would stop, and then I could talk to them. So it's kind of like a filter system. But actually, you do not know who is who. That requires some spiritual perfection to understand exactly where is someone coming from. So you try, and ultimately you have to bump into a person who's not very interested, and you have to bear the insults. But you know, we have to learn also how to tolerate this, how not to be disturbed by it, and understanding, oh, this person, he's agitated because of his conditioning. I should not take offense. I should let him go and pacify him. That's okay. Like that. That is also devotional service. Okay, Davor is asking, one of my biggest problems in preaching is that I give people too much information at once. So this advice to be more tactical is really useful. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, we have to hear what they say. They're all coming from, they're coming to Krishna from their position. See, everyone is ultimately Krishna conscious. Originally, we all Krishna conscious. So everyone is looking for Krishna, but they're confused. So we have to hear where they're coming from. What is their level? They will tell you. People, they want to talk. They want to preach to you. So let them preach, let them talk, and you analyze. Okay, what is this misunderstanding? Just like Prabhupada. And then you catch it. Oh, okay, this is the point. And then you preach on that point. You know, the reason why we want to give so much is that we want to we want to sort of advertise ourselves. We read, we get so much enlightenment, we find out the different arguments Prabhupada is giving, and we enjoy how Prabhupada is smashing. So then we want to imitate. We want to also speak very highly and sophisticated philosophy and so on and so on. But people will not be able to understand. They can't relate. They can't even understand Prabhupada's books, people. So how can they understand you? So this is the way how to do it. Hear very carefully and try to serve them exactly. Just like a doctor. When someone comes to a doctor, the doctor doesn't give him all the medicines he has in the store. First of all, he looks at the patient. Where you have pain? Okay, you have this disease. Okay, here's aspirin. Take it. Like that. So, similarly, we must analyze. What is this person? Is it Mayavadi? Is he a karmi? Is he understanding something wrongly? Is he too much attached to woman or man or whatever? And then we preach on that point. And from that point, we have to explain everything at the same time. Also, we should learn how to do this. That requires also quite a skill. And from any topic, you bring them ultimately to Krishna and self-realization. You are not this body. God is a person. We should serve Him. Devotional service. These three topics we should somehow cover. Anyway, it's too much. If you just theoretically think about it, it's too much. But by practice, you will learn slowly. But we must practice. Okay, Yadav is saying, yes, one time he asked to some nuns what will happen to cats and dogs after their death. The nun said they will go also to heaven similar to humans. The Prabhupada, he laughed and immediately he challenged. I never heard of this pastime. Very interesting. Okay, Peter says, I'm asking because sometimes I'm in a situation where meeting people for the first time, and always thinking how I should approach them with Krishna consciousness. For the moment, I'm trying with prasadam and small talks. Very good. Very good, Prabhu. This is first class. You give prasadam. It's so powerful, this preaching, through prasadam. And yeah, just analyze what they say. There's no harm in analyzing what people are saying, what is their philosophy. And then slowly you can start little challenging them. Not in a bad way, but you ask them, oh, you think like this, then what is your explanation about this point? And you ask them. And usually, very often, if you do like that, if you ask them and people have no answer, they're going to ask you, what do you think about it? See, they give you a platform. When you show them that actually they have some incomplete understanding about some subject matter, for example, about afterlife or about the consciousness, what is the source of consciousness? The natural reflex, when you do it nicely and humbly, not in a aggressive way, but you humbly ask them, I would like to understand what your philosophy is. They will ask you, oh, I do not know, but what is your opinion? And then you can present, well, I read this Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita is explained like this, which would make sense. And you show him that, look, this, you don't have it, I'm giving you. I'm giving what you don't have. See, and people like that. People say, oh, okay, thank you so much. Prabhupada says, if someone is intelligent and you point out flaw in his, his understanding, he'll be thankful. You have corrected me. Thank you so much. Right? For example, you're going to buy an iPhone for 1,000 pounds. But then I show you a store where you can get it for 900 pounds. I will be foolish to say, oh, you're fault finding. Oh, you think I'm a fool. I wanted to buy for 1,000 and you show me for 900. Now I will thank you. Oh yes, I was in ignorance. Now you give me a better deal. Very nice, thank you. This is how it works. But we must hear from Srila Prabhupada. All these things, of course, there are some techniques and so on and so on. But unless we hear from Srila Prabhupada, also, Prabhupada gives you the strength. We also need strength and conviction. It is not so easy. Like PJ Prabhu says, when you pull out God, you pull out. Everyone is running away. It's like pulling out a gun, almost. So we feel the pressure. We feel the pressure. Nobody wants to talk about God. There's a lot of stigma about God. So it requires some courage and also detachment. And you have to be convinced and strong and be ready to bear insults. In one sense, this dhoti is very, very helpful. Because when you put on a dhoti and a tilak and shika, people already know, oh, okay, this person is committed. So when you try to talk to them, those who are rascals, they will not even talk to you. So again, you filter the audience. You filter those who are useless. If someone talks to me, for example, I know that, oh, okay, this person, he is interested in some way or other. He's not biased. So, yeah, I remember when I was wearing regular clothes, and I had long hair and a beard and like that. And I was already chanting and following the principles. And I was preaching, and it was not very effective. But when I put on a dhoti, it gave me an extra strength just because of these external conditioning people have. So I'm not saying that it is required. You can preach in regular clothes, but just so you know how people operate. All right, Prabhu, so thank you so much. I'm very happy that you're asking all these questions about preaching. That means that you're very serious. Otherwise, you would not be asking all these different tricks. So that is very encouraging. Okay, Aradhana. I'm going to read the last comment because we are going today with Maitreya to the anti-lockdown protest. We're going to distribute some books there and prasadam. Aradhana says, from my experience, I approached a woman and said, do you know the song? And started singing the Mahamantra. She joined me and finally asked me, who is Krishna? And I gave her the book she bought, Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Like, on one hand, if you just have the emotion, if you just have the conviction and the mood, you're in a proper mood, people respond to that. Actually, Maitreya can also confirm that most of the time people, they buy the book because they like your vibration. Not because you convince them philosophically and show them in the Shastra. See, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita like this, like that. They don't care. They don't have the capacity to think about these things. So they're very much convinced by your mood, by your emotion, by your purity, like that. That is why this sadhana is also very important. It's essential when we preach, because this will purify our consciousness. So when people come in contact with us, they will feel the spiritual potency. So, see, Aradhana, she just goes, she's convinced, and people are responding. And this lady, she bought the Bhagavad Gita. So, anyway, we could talk about book distribution for many, many hours. There's so many topics. Hare Krishna, Jean. How are you? We have almost a Gibraltar-like weather here, by Krishna's mercy. Okay, Prabhus, thank you so much. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nithai Guru Premanandi, Yari 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 Bol, Namaste Prai, Kustai Mudri, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Savani Namani Namasti Sarasadarevi Guruvani, Vrijadina Nirvishi, Shashunamari Paschat Vishnu. Preach Krishna consciousness.